Well, it's a new day. It's Monday, July 13th, 2026, and we are back at it again for a new week of true crime conversations. I don't know. I had a pretty darn good weekend. You guys have a good weekend? A little rest, a little relaxation? No, I never get rest or relaxation. I'm a father of five. I don't get rest. I don't get relaxation. I get a couple glorious hours on a Sunday afternoon that are not spoken for. But other than that, life is busy. But you know what? I don't think we'd want it any other way, would we? Would we want it any other way? No. Got a big family. Everybody's happy. Everybody's safe. Everybody's doing well. That's the way it is in my life anyway, and I hope you're doing well where you are as well. I need to adjust, Javi. You should have done this before we started, Javier. Got to adjust where my windows are, make sure everything is good. Guys, what are we doing today? We are talking about the Siders family. The Siders family, we'll get into it in a little bit, but the Siders family, there are grandparents and parents that were living in squalor with 16 children, all of whom have been removed from their custody. They have been arrested. 3 of the 4 are still in jail awaiting their preliminary hearing. 1 is out of jail for health reasons. Of course, we call him G1, the elder Gary Siders. And but we've got a couple of court docs to talk about specific to him. I did check the docket on everybody today. Doesn't look like there's any movement on the case so far today. There were a couple things as far as just kind of like shuffling the papers around. Nothing major. But we've got a couple documents on G1. And then we've got some information on the timeline of events that may have led to the kiddos being secret, nobody knowing about these kiddos, which is just shocking as all get out. Of course, had a conversation last week with Elizabeth from Hillbilly Crime. She was on the show on Friday. We discussed that at length. If you guys haven't watched or heard that one, definitely go back and listen to it. But today, before we really dive in, I'm liking this little tradition we have. We're going to ask the question of the day. I've got a little theme for questions. Later on today, we're going to do 3 questions, and it's kind of following the same theme, which is kind of fun. So, question of the day for today. I want you to get your thumbs ready, get your fingers ready to answer this in the live chat or in the comments. What's a song you know every single word to, whether you like it or not? Put that in the comments. That'll get us going. While you're in the comments there, definitely tell me where you're tuning in from. I just love knowing where you guys are coming from. Put a GF in the comment before that highlights it on my end so that I can see what's going on. And without further ado, let's get started. This video contains mature themes and discussions intended only for adult audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello there, my friend. Welcome back to another True Crime Conversation with yours truly. My name is Gavin. Thank you very much for being here. Deeply appreciate you tuning in, wherever you're tuning in from, whichever platform you're tuning in on. Whichever platform upon which you are. I don't know, Javi. I don't know. No? Okay. Thanks all the same for tuning in. We are on YouTube Live. We upload to Spotify, so if you're a premium viewer, you can watch the video on Spotify. That really helps the channel if you do that. So if you're on the Rewatch crew and you have a Spotify premium account, definitely go do that for us. Really appreciate that. We've been uploading reels and stuff like that over to Facebook, so if you're not following me on Facebook, please consider doing that. No pressure. It's always an invitation. Also, you guys notice the fit for today? This is my now vintage Club Atletico Boca Juniors shirt that I bought probably around March or April of 19 1995, maybe a little bit later, June of 1995 in Marcos Juarez, Argentina. And for the first time since I became a father, which was almost 26 years ago, that is when I began my weight gain journey. For the first time in like 26 years, the shirt fits. It's actually a little too big. I've noticed my I have kind of narrow shoulder syndrome, but I don't know. I was just thinking about Argentina is going to be playing England. What is it, tomorrow or the next day? I think it's the next day, the 15th. And so this has been hanging in my closet for 30 years. And I used to break it out a lot, but ever since I got voluntarily fat, I have not. So I don't know. I felt a little patriotic for my beloved Argentina. So this is I should have gotten a national jersey while I was down there. Should have, but I didn't. I got Boca Juniors because at the time, of course, Maradona was playing for Boca, and I was a big Maradona fan. Having I think it's over speaking it over it by saying I met him. I was in the same room as him. I saw him from across a room, across a room, and I don't know. Speaking of Argentina, England, everybody's like, yeah, hand of God, the whole thing. Yeah, no, I don't even care. I still love Diego Maradona. But Gavin, you are so off topic. The topic right now is the question of the day. And what is the question of the day? What's a song you know every single word to, whether you like it or not? Plus, tell me where you are tuning in from. Let's see. Robin getting ahead of the game here. Oh, Gavin, you're sporting that lovely blue shirt, so background color should be blue. It really should be, Robin. You're right. It really should be. Maybe, Robin is one of my intrepid and valued moderators. She does like it when I do the colored lights in the background. That's not really navy, but that's as close as I can get on a button push there, Robin. Hopefully that works for you. Diane, hello, good to see you. Gluten free saying they're not secret. They were born in a hospital, and yet, they didn't. Many people had no idea what was going on there. Great comment, but there's also the and yet. Penguin, please provide a link to the press conference that identified G1 and G2 as junior, and the second every other source online says senior and junior. Yeah, that's the hill I'm going to die on. I don't know that I'm going to find it for you just because of my schedule, but I know that senior is junior and junior is 2. I know that. Yeah. If you don't like it, you can just whip me with a virtual wet spaghetti noodle. It's cool. Jennifer checking in from Delaware. Glad you are here. Angela, back on your live from Kokomo, Indiana. Glad you're here. Gluten free saying most Bon Jovi songs. Those are ones that you know. Bon Jovi's in my wheelhouse. Yeah, that's I listen to I have a couple Bon Jovi tracks on my list of favorites. Definitely, especially as a fan of the movie Young Guns 2. Lake Cumberland, Kentucky in the house. Grandma Bethy, Itsy Bitsy Spider, Southeast Pennsylvania. Miami, Florida is here. Mount Holly, North Carolina is here. Queen songs, gluten free. That's another. Got a lot of Queen. Fat Bottom Girls, one of my favorite memories. We have our daughter. She's our middle child. She was a big baby. In fact, this very day on my Facebook memories, there was a picture of her that I'd posted looking like the Michelin Tire Man. She was a big girl. Anyway, so she was a big girl. So as she was growing up, she's like 2.5, 3 years old. We're sitting in the truck and Fat Bottom Girls comes on. I was like, JoJo, You're my little fat bottom girl. Daddy, I'm not a fat bottom girl. I'm not a fat bottom girl. Love that song. Anyway, Bohemian Rhapsody says Southern Yankee here from North Carolina. Glad you're here. Barbara saying terrible at remembering song lyrics. Saudi Daisy Tennessee is here. Def Leppard's Pour Some Sugar on Me. You know, that one I think I had the lyrics wrong for the longest time, and now I'm blanking on which line that I had wrong. But that one is on my list. Jingle Bell Rock says Sammy Mommy. Lynn Taylor, Itsy Bitsy Spider. West Virginia Girl checking in from Cable County. Glad you're here. Heart of Gold. I have an issue with Mr. Why am I blanking on his name? Give me a second. Neil. I have an issue with Neil. Personal beef. I don't think that he reciprocates the beef. I don't think he even knows who I am. But I have beef with Neil, and the biggest part of that beef is that he's such a good songwriter, and Heart of Gold is one of those. A Ford Sable. Affordsable says Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen, checking in from Palm Beach County. Hey Jude from the Beatles. That's one. Central Texas is here. American Pie is here. Now, do you sing Whiskey and Rye, or do you sing Whiskey in Rye? That's my question. Crazy by Patsy Cline. It's great, Gavin. Congrats. Thank you very much. Song for me is YMCA by the Village People, says Clarinet Girl. Yeah, everybody knows that one. It's a good song. It's an earworm. Mooney says there are far too many songs that I know all the words to, so I really can't answer. Isn't it funny? So back in the day when I was participating in the theatrical arts, I noticed that I could memorize song lyrics like there was nobody's business, but I had such a hard time memorizing my lines. And so what did I do? Put them into music. That's what I did. Clarinet Girl, France and Spain on Tuesday, Argentina and England on Wednesday. Thank you very much for the reminder there. I've got a little family infighting right now. My sister-in-law, Kimberly's little sister, and I are both Argentina fans. Her husband is an England fan, and we're having to keep it civilized. But it's pretty fun. Beaumont, California in the house. Robin says, loves the blue. Good. Tina May, I know way too many songs, but one that will stick in my head and never leave is Beach Boys' Help Me, Rhonda. There was, hold on. There was a girl in high school. I can see her face, and I can't remember her name, but I would sing that song with her name on it, but she wasn't Rhonda. She wasn't Wanda. She wasn't anything close. She hated it so bad, which of course, being the immature guy that I was, kept me going. Ooh, Garth B. Nutt with the Baby Shark. Yeah. Oh, that one. I don't want to listen. Netherlands listening in. Glad you are here. Washington, D.C. is in the house. Toronto, Canada is here. Sadly, Barney's I Love You was kindergarten preschool teacher back in the day. We'll get to the case. I promise everybody. Don't worry about it. But my second job, of course, I had a paper route and I did farm chores and stuff like that. But my second job, my first job was as a stock boy at Susie's Casuals in the Sunrise Mall, Citrus Heights, California. My second job was at JCPenney Portrait Studio. Somewhere in there I worked at a pizza place too. Now I'm second guessing myself. That might have been my third job. But I worked at JCPenney Portrait Studio, and in the little lobby, we had a little TV, little VCR TV combo, of course, because I'm old. It was like a little 13-inch TV. And our choices were Aladdin and Aladdin. For like 2 years straight, I listened to the entire soundtrack of Aladdin. I know it all. Girl Ryan says, I'm last chiming in, but Gangsta's Paradise. Little Coolio action. Every single word. And Miku Miku Chan says, Ohio is here, Bat Country by Avenged Sevenfold. I'm a millennial, and it's my go-to song when I play rock band. And that is a song that I don't even know. So what a great place to end our question of the day. Guys, thanks for playing along on that. I don't know. I just really love it. What are we doing today? We got the Siders family update. We're going to do 3 questions. We've got a short headlines segment, and then we've got maybe my feeliest, goodiest, happiest, goodiest news in our good news segment. Well, it makes me feel good. So we've got a lot of content that we're going to get to today, and thank you very much for sticking with me. All right. What am I going to do now, Javi? Bring up some pictures? Is that what I'm going to do? Yes. Okay. So today we are talking about these 4 fine folks. Gavin says, tongue planted firmly in cheek. Oh, actually, but I should have this disclaimer. You know what? We do need to fight against the urge to believe everything that has been said. That came up in the live stream on Friday with Elizabeth, right? Fight the urge to believe everything that police said is true. Andy Wilson, the AG for the state of Ohio, said this was pure evil, right? Of course, Tommy Stoley, the defense attorney for Elizabeth, is like, I don't see evil here. I see poverty. I see, I see, mental health issues, but I do not see evil. So we need to be very careful and try to be as fair as we possibly can. But okay, so we've got G1, Gary Siders, right here. His wife, Christina Siders, their son, Gary Siders II, and his wife, Elizabeth Siders. Now, of course, you guys know the story. These 2 young lovers got married when she was 7 months pregnant at the age of 15, when he was 18. Snuck over to West Virginia, where there was a little bit of an industry of teen weddings, and they have been married ever since. I figure she has been pretty much pregnant since then. Since 2000, I think it's 2008, 2006, I can't remember. She has been consistently pregnant ever since. Now, police were there on a warrant. There are different stories, right? But I reread a couple of the old articles that came out in the beginning, in light of my conversation with Elizabeth Jones from Hillbilly Crime. Subscribe to Hillbilly Crime, by the way. Our conversation yesterday, where she was saying that, not yesterday, Friday, she reminded me that at the press conference, it was said not that they were going there to serve a warrant, but they were going there on another matter. It was the media who went to the court and at the district court level found 4 charges against this guy, G2, for indecent exposure. But we don't know. The media just speculated, hey, it could have been that they were going to serve these warrants for indecent exposure. But Elizabeth postulated that it could have been some other investigation. It could have been anything. Could have been drugs. Could have been, drunk and disorderly. Could have been that they found out something about 16 kids sitting in the house. We don't know. We're only guessing at the indecent exposure thing. I did go to the website today, the court's website, and I did see that those charges are still at the district court level. They have not been carried over to the common pleas court yet. The only charges there at the common pleas court are these charges, 16 charges of child endangerment related to what happened here. So authorities arrive at the house on June 30th. For what reason, we're only speculating. I'm sure that we will find out a little bit more when the preliminary hearing actually happens. Hey, hang on just one second. I see a great comment. Estre B12 says, Gavin, are you a Boca Juniors fan? Haha, I'm from Argentina, living in the U.S. now. I recognized the jersey right away. Big hug from North Carolina. Go Argentina. Yes, indeed. Boca Juniors, baby. This is a vintage jersey because I am a vintage man. It has been 30 years since I lived in Argentina, and I have had this hanging in my closet, as I've said. It has never left my closet since I bought it in mid 1995. I love this jersey. It's kind of worse for the wear. It needs some love, and I wouldn't mind a modern one. I need to do that. I need to get a modern one, but it doesn't matter. Okay, we digress. We digress. Okay, so for what reason they went to the house, we do not know. We can only speculate. But G1, Christina, G2, and Elizabeth all arrested, all charged initially with 17 charges of child endangerment. It was revised to 16 charges of child endangerment. Felony twos, all of them. If they were to get all, if they were to be found guilty of all 16 charges, and a judge for some reason made everything, what's the opposite of concurrent? In sequence, whatever that is, whatever that legal term is. What are we looking at? We're looking at like 20 years per, or 10 years, I think it is. No, it's 12. There it is. 12 years for each count. They're looking at 192 years. Enseguido. I right now I'm on a Boca Juniors thing. I cannot think of the English word. It doesn't matter. You guys will tell me. You guys will tell me. So they're looking at 192 years here each. I can't imagine a world in which a judge would say, I sentence you to 12 years, one after the other, after the other, after the other. I don't see that happening. And in this case, I kind of feel like we've got some real mental health issues here. We've got that the courts are probably working to deal with. We've got some generational poverty issues that we're dealing with here. We've got all sorts of things, and I think that Elizabeth Siders, I am leaning, and of course I reserve the right to be wrong, and I reserve the right to change my mind, but I am leaning that while she does have to bear responsibility for what has happened to her children, also I think that she's kind of a victim in this. I think the coercive control from the time she's 15 years old, I think being pregnant for that long of a time is, I think it does. It makes changes to one's brain. That I mean, coming from a layperson that knows nothing, right? That's just my feeling on this. So let's go over to some court documents. I've been belaboring this enough. Come with me, if you will, over, and these are not brand spanking new, guys. These were filed on the 8th and 9th, but these have to do with G1, the elder Gary Siders, right? He's in his 70s. He's a septuagenarian. He apparently has suffered a stroke. He took a fall, according to the Vinton County prosecutor, Bill Archer. He took a fall while in custody. He has been he was released from custody on his own recognizance, and so that the county didn't have to be didn't have to foot the bill for the medical care of Mr. G1. But we've got an issue here that was brought up at this very press conference, if you're looking at the picture here, about Mr. Siders, the elder, and his ability to stand trial. So come with me over here and let's read this motion from July 8th in the Common Pleas Court of Vinton County, Ohio, State of Ohio, County of Vinton versus Gary Siders. Motion for an evaluation to determine whether the defendant is not guilty by reason of insanity. and whether the defendant is competent to stand trial. Now, I'm going to bring up, just in case, let's see, insanity defense in Ohio. I just want to bring up the Supreme Court's reference guide on that, and we'll come back to it. Okay. All right. Now comes counsel for the defendant, who hereby respectfully moves the court to order the defendant to be evaluated by Netcare Forensic Center or other similar agency and to undergo an evaluation both to determine whether the defendant is competent to stand trial at this time, or alternatively, if the defendant is found to be competent, whether the defendant is not guilty by reason of insanity because he was legally insane at the time of the alleged offense. Defense counsel makes this motion in good faith to determine defendant's mental condition at the time of the offenses charged and whether defendant is competent to stand trial on the offenses charged. The reasons for this motion are more fully explained in the attached memorandum of support, which should be incorporated herein. And it's submitted by the attorney for G1, Dorian Keith Baum, Jonathan Getson, and Jonathan Getson. Okay, so let me real quick, we'll bring up Mr. Sider's picture here while I read. This is from the website from the Supreme Court of the state of Ohio. In fact, why don't I download it? It's a PDF. Let's download it so I can bring it up on the screen for you guys. Here we go. Okay. This is the Ohio Criminal Sentencing Commission not guilty by reason of insanity reference guide. And this is an 11-page document. We're not going to read the whole thing, but just so that we understand, what do they mean by legally insane in the state of Ohio? Okay. What is not guilty by reason of insanity? A person is not guilty by reason of insanity relative to a charge of an offense only if the person proves by a preponderance of the evidence and in the manner specified in section 2901.05 of the revised code that at the time of the commission of the offense, the person did not know as a result of severe mental disease or defect the wrongfulness of the person's acts. So there are a couple of components to this, right? Number one, I'll work in reverse order. A defect, right? A defect, severe mental disease, that it's there. The other part that's interesting to me is that they only have to prove by a preponderance of the evidence. That is the lowest bar in the law, right? A preponderance of the evidence. That is like 50.1 to 49.9 that it's more likely to be than not. That's what preponderance of the evidence is, right? So it's not like he has to get a unanimous jury here to find beyond reasonable doubt. This is just very low bar. A defendant who does not plead not guilty by reason of insanity is conclusively presumed to have been sane at the time of the commission of the defense charged. What does not, we don't have to do this. How is competency different from a not guilty by reason of insanity plea? Competency to stand trial is a determination by a judge about a defendant's present medical or mental condition and about the defendant's capacity to understand the proceedings and assist in the defendant's own defense. A plea of not guilty by reason of insanity asserts an affirmative defense regarding the defendant's mental condition at the time of the offense and focuses on the defendant's knowledge of the wrongfulness of the defendant's actions at the time. So it's a matter of timing on this a lot, right? So in the motion, they're making a motion for two different things. They're making a motion for one thing, but for two reasons. They want an evaluation by an agency similar to Netcare Forensic Center, and they want in that evaluation to determine, one, is G1 now competent to stand trial? And two, is G1 or was G1 then mentally aware enough to know that what he was doing was wrong. So they're asking for two separate things in this motion. And of course, I mean, that's the title of the motion is motion for an evaluation to determine whether the defendant is not guilty by reason of insanity and whether the defendant is competent to stand trial. So yeah, they're asking for those two things. Let me see if there's anything else we want to bring up in this. Yeah, who has the burden to prove not guilty by reason of insanity? The defendant has the burden to prove not guilty by reason of insanity by a preponderance of the evidence. So this is what do they call this? They call it do they call it a pause? What do they call it? They call it an affirmative defense, right? So typically speaking, as you guys know, in a trial for like murder, the burden is on the state to prove that the murder happened, that the victim is dead, that the defendant caused the murder, and there are other things too, like that the defendant had malice aforethought, that sort of stuff, right? The state has the burden. With a not guilty by reason of insanity, the defense, the burden shifts to the other table. The defense has the burden. They have to make an affirmative defense. They only have to reach a bar of the preponderance of the evidence here in the state of Ohio, but they have to make that assertion, and they have to prove that he is not guilty by reason of insanity. And that switches things quite a bit, because then the prosecution puts on a case as to why they believe that the not guilty by reason of insanity is a proper defense. Why the defendant is guilty. Why the defendant is not guilty by reason of insanity. Okay. So now that we've gone through that just a little bit, let's go to the memorandum in support here. It's just a couple pages. Okay. All right. Counsel for the defendant was appointed on July 2nd to represent the defendant in the present matter before this court. The defendant was arrested on June 30th, 2026. And a complaint was filed that same day, with an amended complaint filed on July 1st, charging the defendant with 16 counts of child endangering in violation of Ohio Revised Code 2919.22b1 and 2919.22e2d, all felonies of the second degree. The defendant appeared for an initial appearance hearing on July 1st, at which time bond was set at $300,000 cash or surety. Just to rehash what we've already talked about multiple times, but just so we're on the same page, that means that they would either have to deposit $300,000 with the court or go to a professional bail bonds person and put up some kind of collateral equaling that. Well, it's usually like 10% of that or something. Well, no, it's usually equaling that. Put up some type of collateral, and then that surety agent issues an insurance policy that is then filed with the court. Okay. While counsel does not have all the facts surrounding the case and the defendant's subsequent arrest, counsel was able to view the video recording of the initial appearance hearing held on July 1st, 2026, and has been able to subsequently speak with the defendant and observe his demeanor and conduct during both the hearing and the in-person meeting with counsel. The defendant specifically evidenced significant struggles understanding what the judge was saying during the hearing, the legal process he is facing, and even basic questions asked of him by the court. Furthermore, during the interactions between counsel and the defendant, it was clear to counsel that the defendant exhibited significant confusion about the legal process, was unable to describe the specific roles of the various participants in court proceedings, including even the role of counsel to aid his legal defense, and was unable to describe even basic facts about himself. Okay, now that part of the sentence right there was even unable to describe even basic facts about himself, right? I think many of us if we were to go to court, we would express or exhibit some sort of confusion about what's going on here. You know, one time I don't want to one time I was in the gallery for a hearing where a defendant who I was covering in my day job as a reporter. I was covering the whole process. So this defendant was choosing to plead no contest to the charges against her. And I had reported, because I had been present during a previous hearing, I had reported that she didn't even have her discovery, and she was ready to she was ready to plead on this thing, and she was behaving as if her interactions, she had no counsel, that her interactions with the prosecutor were as if the prosecutor was also representing her. And I had reported to the public, hey, I think we got a Brady violation here. That there's a possible Brady violation. She doesn't have discovery, and the prosecutor is pushing this to go forward, and she's going to plead no contest here. Anyway, we get to the hearing, and the judge, somebody that I like really respect and admire, who is in a place where she's like, hey, if you're pleading no contest, I don't have any choice here, but you're gonna have jail time. And having seen, not the judge, but the prosecutor, having seen my reporting, stood up in court and was like, it has been put out into the community that she didn't get her discovery. It has since been delivered to her, but Your Honor, she should have um, counsel, and I move that the court appoint counsel, right? And so I'm sitting there in the gallery going, yes, okay, the court is doing what it's supposed to do. Good job on the prosecutor's part. Good job on the judge's part, listening. The judge cannot be counsel for the defendant, right? But she explained, we can't appoint you counsel. You can have a lawyer go over the discovery and give you your options, and uh, you have counsel. And she sat there in open court and just was like, I would rather not. I would just plead no contest. And I was just shaking my head. Like, what are you doing? Well, you know what was happening? She just didn't get it. She just didn't get it. And I think many of us, while facing similar circumstances, it's so stressful. You've been arrested, you're being held, you're in jail. Not a fun place to be. You are facing 16 felonies. I think all of us would exhibit some sort of confusion, even significant confusion about the legal process. I think many of us would be unable to describe specific roles of various participants in court proceedings. However, I think if the defendant was unable to describe even basic facts about himself, ding, 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 I think we got a competency issue here, right? Okay, continuing on. The defendant was generally unable to maintain a clear and consistent train of thought throughout the interaction and was clearly struggling to understand what is going on. The defendant's conduct leads counsel to believe that the defendant may be suffering from significant mental health issues and that competency may be an issue and clear impediment in the defendant's ability to aid in his own defense. Collateral information has seemed to confirm that the defendant suffers from significant health issues, including a decline in mental function and functionality, which would be consistent with counsel's observation of the defendant both during his interactions with the court and with counsel. At this time, based on the limited information counsel has received to date, counsel believes that the defendant's significant mental health issues would not only affect whether he is competent to stand trial, but would also have affected his ability to understand the wrongfulness of his conduct at the time of the alleged incidents. Remember, there are two different things that they're asking for here, and it's a matter of timing. One, Is he able to understand what's going on now? And two, was he able to understand what was going on then? And this argument from the attorney is both are true in this case, right? Okay. Defendant's significant mental health issues would not only affect whether he is competent to stand trial, but would also have affected his ability to understand the wrongfulness of his conduct at the time of the alleged incidents, such that the defendant would not have fully understood the consequences of his actions at the time of the alleged offense, had such actions actually constituted criminal conduct. See, he's not even that's good lawyering. And we want good lawyering, but he's not even conceding that there were criminal actions here, right? Counsel would request thus that the court order an evaluation to determine if, in fact, the defendant is presently competent to stand trial, and if he is found to be competent, moreover, whether the defendant was legally insane at the time the alleged criminal conduct took place. Both things, they're asking for both things. Wherefore, defendant respectfully requests that this court order the defendant to undergo an evaluation to determine both whether the defendant is competent to stand trial at this time, and if so, to further evaluate the defendant to determine whether he is not guilty by reason of insanity because he was legally insane at the time of the alleged offense. Respectfully submitted, the lawyers, Mr. Baum and Mr. Gedson. Okay, now getting back, we're staying on G1, Mr. Siders, the elder. When I looked at the docket, I didn't see any response to the motion from the prosecutor's office. And remember, this is being prosecuted by Bill Archer, who is the Vinton County prosecutor, and he has two assistants here. One is Annika Collins, who is a Highland County prosecutor. Apparently, Mr. Archer and Ms. Collins worked together at one point, and an assistant attorney general, Kara Keating, has been offered by the state. Apparently, Vinton County is a small county, does not have a huge tax base, therefore its budget is very low. And Bill Archer said, this is at no cost to the taxpayers. Okay, so here is the order. With no response from the prosecutor's office, here's the order that came out the next day. Again, this is State of Ohio v. Gary Siders, the elder. Order directing an evaluation to determine whether the defendant is not guilty by reason of insanity and whether the defendant is competent to stand trial. I find this a very good sign that the court is like, let's move along on this case, right? That sounds reasonable to me, counsel. Let's go ahead and give you the order. So here's the order. This matter comes on for consideration on the defendant's motion for an evaluation to determine whether the defendant is not guilty by reason of insanity and whether the defendant is competent to stand trial. This matter was brought before the court on July 8th, 2026. It is hereby ordered that 1. The Forensic Diagnostic Center of District 9, Inc., a certified forensic center designated by the Department of Mental Health, will examine defendant to determine whether defendant is not guilty by reason of insanity and whether defendant is competent to stand trial. Now, what I find interesting in the way this order is worded is that the motion asks for something in order, right? It says, hey, I want to know if the defendant is competent, and if the defendant is competent, incompetent, let's further evaluate whether the defendant is not guilty by reason of insanity. This order doesn't say that. Nope. The order is the Forensic Diagnostic Center District 9 will examine the defendant and determine those two things. Is the defendant not guilty by reason of insanity? And is the defendant competent to stand trial? Number 2, the person conducting the examination will be an examiner as defined in the Ohio Revised Code. The examination date and time is to be scheduled with defense counsel and must be in person. They forgot the hyphen there, but that's okay. It's okay. This is a court order, not an English essay. It's fine, Gavin. Just relax. I'm just a big fan of the hyphen. I'm a big fan of the hyphen. The hyphen is underused. Dashes tend to be overused, especially the N dash and the M dash, but hyphens, I think, they're the unsung hero in our language. Anyway, but I digress. Number 4, the examiner shall submit a written report of the examination to the court under seal no later than 30 days after the date of this order. So we're expecting this on August 9th, basically, but it will be sealed. This report shall be separate from the report on the issue of the mental condition of defendant at the time of the offense charge. 5, the report of the examiner shall contain the findings of the examiner, the facts in reasonable detail on which the findings are based, and the opinion of the examiner as to whether defendant is capable, I think that's a typo, of understanding the nature and objective of the proceedings against defendant and whether defendant is capable of assisting in the defense of the defendant. Paragraph 6. If it is the opinion of the examiner that defendant is incapable of understanding the nature and objective of the proceedings against defendant or of assisting in the defense of defendant, the examiner also shall state in the report the opinion of the examiner as to the likelihood of defendant becoming capable of understanding the nature and objective to the proceedings against defendant and of assisting the defense of defendant within 1 year if defendant is provided with a course of treatment. Very interesting. We see this in, what is the case? Give me a second. I have to, it is, Noel Rodriguez Alvarez, right? In the murder of little Noelito here, his mom, Cindy Rodriguez Singh, was found incompetent to stand trial. She's receiving mental health treatment. So that's what the judge wants in this case. If he is mentally incompetent, what is the likelihood that if he got treatment for a year, that competency would return? Paragraph 7. If it is the opinion of the examiner that defendant is incapable of understanding the nature and objective of the proceedings against defendant or of assisting in the defense of defendant, the examiner also shall state in the report the opinion of the examiner as to whether defendant presently is mentally ill or has an intellectual disability, and the recommendation of the examiner as to the least restrictive placement or commitment alternative, including consideration of housing needs and the availability of mental treatment in the community, consistent with the treatment needs of defendant for restoration to competency and with the safety of the community. This order gives me the warm fuzzies, guys. It gives me the warm fuzzies. Like, okay, we want to take care of our mentally ill too. So let's, and we want to keep our community safe. So, give us your opinion about the least restrictive thing that we can do for him if he is incompetent, if he is mentally ill, the least restrictive thing that we can do, and also keeping in mind the safety of the community. I mean, good on Lena Featheroff Rogers, the judge. Okay, paragraph 8. The time which defendant must be brought to trial is extended by virtue of the Ohio Revised Code. Any period during which the accused is mentally incompetent to stand trial or during which his mental competence to stand trial is being determined. Paragraph 9. The state of Ohio shall provide the examiner with a complete copy of discovery in this case within 10 days of the date of the order. Very interesting. So the examiner gets to see all the discovery as well. Goodness. Oh, this is another one of those moments where I just want to express gratitude to people in social services, in mental health services, in law enforcement services, and in prosecutorial services, defense services, that have to see all this stuff day in and day out. Like, thank you all. Judges, lawyers, victim advocates, tip staff, everybody. Thank you for being willing to do that. I mean, I'm just so glad that I don't have to. It's just so glad. Let me go over to Let's go to your comments over here real quick before we get into the next thing. And of course, it is refreshed, so I have to see if I can scroll all the way up to the top here. I think I'm probably missing some of your comments. Consecutive was the word that I was looking for. I could not find consecutive. Concurrent consecutive. That I should post that on the wall. Maybe tape it on the window to Wanda's music booth, her audio booth. But then I wouldn't be able to see Wanda. And if I put it over, maybe I need a list of words over here where I can just refer to them. Things like charisma and schadenfreude, stuff like that. Okay. Let's see. Consecutive is one after the other. Thank you very much. You guys are helping me out. Click on through. Oh, okay. This is an interesting take. And yeah, what do I know, right? One, I'm a dude. Two, I'm a dude. So what do I know? But here we go. When I was married, this is from Wanda. When I was married to my first husband, I had 4 children in 7 years. I know not as many as her, but he treated me so much better when I was pregnant. Maybe same thing applies to her. That took a direction I wasn't quite ready for. I read the first sentence, then, maybe it's a defense mechanism. This is what I know, okay, from my own experience. My wife, my snuggly bear, my sweetie pie, my one and only, Mrs. Kimberly Fish, she hated being pregnant. She hated it. I mean, she loves being a mom. I think she even enjoyed the delivery process. But her body not being what she wanted it to be was hard for her, I think. So that's been my experience. Angela's saying, I heard today she was pregnant at age 13 or 14, had a baby girl that did not survive. I've heard similar rumors. Other variations are that she gave up the baby. I don't have a reputable source for that one, though. Let's see. Becky saying the house was being rented, but the owner had died and it was in a trust. I'm thinking the trustee wasn't taking care of the plumbing issue, which meant no access to an indoor toilet. Yeah, could be. Talking with Elizabeth reminded me, guys, when we first moved out here to Western PA, keeping in mind as a preface that not only have I lived in, but I have not only have I lived in third world conditions, but I've visited many impoverished nations and communities all around the globe. So that's number one. So I know what poverty is. I know what it looks like. I know what it smells like. I know all about it, but I wasn't prepared for it here in the States. And I don't think that I grew up in a terribly wealthy or well-to-do place. I lived in just a middle-class place. I grew up in a very middle-class place. In fact, when I was talking with my 6th grade teacher, when we got together last month, Kimberly and I and the kids and my sister went and had lunch with one of my favorite teachers, like changed my life, my 6th grade teacher. He described where I grew up as lower middle class. So it's not like I was living the life of Riley or anything here, right? But we moved out here to Western Pennsylvania to a place that is, I mean, it looks like a Norman Rockwell painting in a lot of ways. Big, beautiful, old, historic homes. Such cool architecture. The courthouses out here are amazing. Just the history for the United States, it's old, right? It's just so cool. And like 2 weeks after I got here, I got asked to help somebody move from church, and I go over to their house and was shocked to see vistas in their house that looked very similar to the vistas that we see in the house that the Siders family was living in. This is not uncommon, man. Not uncommon at all. Double entendre there. This is common, man. And I don't want to admit it, but like out here in the hollers, as Elizabeth would say, out here in Appalachia, man, there's a lot of this kind of stuff. A lot of this kind of stuff. So it could just possibly be that the trustees or the landlords were just like, yeah, well, that's the house. That's the condition of the house. Just like that's the house I grew up in, right? And I'm with Elizabeth. I think it was probably in this condition when they moved in. Very interesting. Great comment. Thanks for that comment. Um, Channel 53, I wonder if there will be additional fathers. Channel 53X, it's good to see you. I don't recognize your handle, and it's always good to see new comments. Did you guys know? This is a tangent. Wanda, I need tangent music, please.
Oh, a tangent! A tangent!
Guys, did you know that only 35% of my viewers are subscribers to my channel? 35% of my viewers are subscribers to my channel. So if you are new here and you haven't subscribed, give me a chance. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. Just hit that subscribe button. Help me out. It does help me out, by the way. I mean, I don't want to just build subscribers for the sake of having a large subscriber base, but it does help me out. It indicates to YouTube that I am a channel worth putting out to more people. So if you are one of the 65% of viewers that are watching right now and are not subscribed, please consider subscribing. It really, really, I need to come up with better adjectives other than really, really, really. Javi, you got to help me out with my English. Javi, was that insensitive? Javi's second language is English, so yeah. I need to come up with better adjectives, okay? But it does help me out. Okay, Channel 53X. Wonder if there are additional fathers. I have been wondering the same thing. I think the likelihood is yes. I think the probability is yes. I think that, and this is speculation, guys. I have no proof. This might be even a little irresponsible to say, but it's in support of my mission to learn here, and that I just really want DNA tests done. I want DNA tests done here. I want to know who the fathers of the children are, and I want to know who the mothers of the children are, because so far the attorney, Mr. Stolley, the defense attorney for Elizabeth, has said that his client is the mother of all 16 children. But how does he know? Probably only because his client told him that. So does she have incentive to hide the fact that maybe her daughters are also mothers? There would be some incentive there. So I think DNA tests are in order. So I think there probably are at least two fathers going boop, 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 back between G1 and G2. And there could be more than one mother. Oh, and that just... special thanks to my friend Jen Coffendaffer for even making me think in those terms. But yeah, Abingdon, Virginia in the house. Thanks, Prissy Missy. Thank you for checking in. Let's see. Sunshine says, hi, Gavin, here in Vermont. I tend to believe that Elizabeth is indeed a victim. However, I reserve judgment pending more information from the court. A very responsible thing for you to do, and I am right there with you. Kaylin answering the question of the day, Turn the Page by Bob Seger. I do love me some Seger. Prissy Missy saying, Wham, wake me up before you go is the answer to the question of the day. See if there's anything else in here before we go to the timeline discussion. Merglip says, a ghetto is not divided by race, color, creed, or place. I agree and did not say otherwise, right? Ghetto is a ghetto. I've seen them all over the world, and I have. I just was shocked when we moved here and saw stuff like this. I'd never seen it in the States. And yeah, it was just my own naivete. That's what it was. And Merglip also saying someone should insist on DNA testing on everyone. I agree. Robin sending some gift memberships out. Looks like Cornbread, Trial Watcher, Colette Souza, Stacy Doyle, and Dot Debbie have received your gift. Thank you very much, Robin. Remember that on Wednesday, we are continuing our tradition of doing a members only and patron only live stream. We'll do that Wednesday. We'll do an after show. So you five that were gifted memberships today, congrats, and hopefully you'll join us on the old after show. Yes, and Merglip saying she had conjoined twins first, and no, she didn't have conjoined twins first. The conjoined twins were later. Another set of twins another time. The conjoined babies have names and graves. That is true. We have been able to verify that. Okay, now let's go to the second part of what I prepared for you today, and it is actually a report from NBC4, the investigative team that are local there in Ohio. This is not that long of an article, but it does give us some information as far as the timeline. So come with me, will you, over to Acrobat. This written by Katie Millard, Jesse Bethia, and Adam Kahn for NBC4i.com. 16 children rescued from rural Ohio home, a timeline of where the family lived. And I think this is the key as to how they were so under the radar, that they moved around. But I think they were in this house for like 4 years. But anyway, I think this is the key of how they were able to stay under the radar with so many kids. And actually, you know what? I should repent of that. I don't know that they were under the radar. This could have been a failure. This could have been a failure of the state, of the community. They could have known. We don't know that they didn't know that the Siders family was completely under the radar. We only have our suspicions of that because we have heard that from the state attorney general, Andy Wilson, and in press conferences, including the sheriff and the prosecutor. So we don't know it, but I think it. I suspect it. Let's put it that way. Okay, Dateline Columbus. Records obtained by NBC4 offer a clearer picture of the Siders family's life across nearly 2 decades, up until 4 adults were charged and 16 children were rescued from a Vinton County home. Gary Siders, 73, Christina Siders, 66, Gary Siders II, 36, and Elizabeth Siders, 33, were arrested, and each charged with 16 counts of endangering children. Officials said 16 children were rescued from the home and had allegedly been isolated in a 12 by 12 room. Guys, that is smaller than the room that I am sitting in right now, the world's messiest office, by the way. I only show from here up so that you don't know just how messy of an office this is. But isolated in a 12 by 12 room. Attorney General Andy Wilson said one or more of the children may have died had officers not responded to the home when they did, which could be true. It's just his opinion. It also is the opinion of a politician who wants to look good for going out and being the state's chief law enforcement officer. So he's got different incentives working on him, but it also still could be true. I mean, some were, taken to hospital for treatment, and one in intensive care, stuff like that. So yeah. All right. The case sparked numerous questions online, including curiosity about the family's past and how the children were not noticed sooner. That again, we're assuming that they weren't noticed. NBC4 obtained public records to compile a timeline of where the Siders said they were living from the birth of the first child to the adult's arrest on June 30th. Please see previous coverage in the video player above, which we don't have. Okay, in 2008, at age 15, marriage records show Elizabeth Siders married then 18-year-old Gary Siders Jr. No, the second. Gary Siders the second. Although the couple lived on the same street in Gallipolis, records show they went across the state border to Mason County, West Virginia to wed at the courthouse in March 2008. Let me just do a little Map time. Gallipolis, Ohio. Let's look at where that is. All right. Maybe if I showed you guys where I'm looking at here. So Gallipolis is right there. And I don't know where exactly the border is. Let's see if we can find that border somewhere. Right there. So, I mean, they're like right on the border. Right on the border. What river is that? That's the Ohio. So it's a town right on the Ohio River, right across from West Virginia. Okay, so that's where we are. So they went right across the border. At the time of their marriage, Elizabeth had an 8th grade education and Gary II had a 9th grade education. 2 months later, she gave birth to their first child. Birth records show the girl was born in Ohio at the Gallia County Hospital. Records show Elizabeth had moved into the Gallipolis home Gary II was living in when the two were wed. 2009 through 2016. In August of 2009, Elizabeth and Gary II had their second daughter in Gallia County Hospital. So, March, 2 months later, April, May, and then so May to August. So we're 15 months later. Okay. Records show the couple moved to a rural Gallia County home about 15 miles north of Gallipolis by the time of their second child's birth. Birth records from August 2009 through May 2016 all list the same address, indicating the Siders likely lived there for about 7 years. During this period, Elizabeth gave birth to daughters in March 2011, March 2012, May 2013, and May 2016, and gave birth to a son in September 2014. All 5 children were born in Gallia County Hospital. So far, all children have been born in the hospital. The address falls within Gallia County local schools. A representative for the district said they cannot comment on students' educational records when asked if the Siders' children attended the district or were listed in district homeschooling records. Yeah. Well, it's a privacy issue. They're probably bound by law. They probably can't. Okay, in January 2017, Gary II was cited for driving without a booster seat, to which he pleaded guilty and paid a $165 fine. Guys, this is a personal crusade of mine. Protect your kiddos. Put them in boosters. Just follow the law, man. Follow the law. Don't put your child in the front seat. Come on. Come on. Like, come on, man. It's just so stupid. There's so many ways that you can get for free through different programs booster seats for your children. Don't be those people. I know you're not. I'm preaching to the choir here. Okay, in October 2017, Gary II and Elizabeth had another daughter in a Gallia County hospital. Birth records list another new address in Gallia County, different from the address listed in the January 2017 traffic stop or on past birth records. So they were there for 6 years and then moved. Okay, birth records and county auditor records differ on which community the home falls under, but the address appears to be within Gallipolis City Schools. Gallipolis's superintendent said the district had no records pertaining to the Siders' children, but if they had, they would be protected by student privacy laws. Okay, superintendent, that is so funny. Well, if we had records, they would be protected. Wink, wink, nod, nod. Meaning we don't have records. That is funny. So you can tell whether or not you have records. Does that imply that the Gallia County school district does have records? I think it kind of does, right? Reading between the lines there. Gallia County has school records, but Gallipolis City apparently does not. I don't know. It's probably a bit of a stretch. It's probably a stretch. Okay. 2019 and 2020. In October 2019, Elizabeth gave birth to a son in Gallia County Hospital. Birth records reflect another new address just outside of Gallipolis. So, sometime in 2 years, they moved again. By the way, I think we counted, but I can't remember the number of times. Okay, Kimberly and I have been married 26 years, 26 and a half. Um, let me just count in my head here real quick. Dune, 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 Dune. We've lived in 12 places. So moving around is, I mean, I think it's pretty normal. We've only lived in this place for 9 years because I've insisted on it. Kimberly wanted to move like 6 weeks after we got in here. It's really funny. So just the fact of them moving around a lot isn't suspicious, but I think it does make it harder to figure out what's going on here. Okay, so in September 2020, October to September, so 11 months later, Elizabeth gave birth to another daughter in a Gallia County hospital. Birth records reflect a new home in Cheshire, or Cheshire, depending on how they pronounce it, about 7 miles up the Ohio River from Gallipolis. I think I might withhold this question to Friday when Elizabeth is back on. Okay, in 2022, court records indicate 2 of the 16 rescued children were twins born on the same day in February 2022. So, what is that? 15 months later? However, NBC4 was only able to obtain a birth certificate for one of the 2, a boy born at a hospital in Gallia County. The address listed on this birth certificate is Bloomer, Wisconsin. Property records list the address as a miscellaneous agricultural property without a residential structure. Were they camping there? They have a trailer there or something like that. In November of 2022, birth and death records show Elizabeth gave birth to conjoined twins, Faith Lee and Bailey Lee Siders, at 24 weeks. So if they had 14 weeks to go, they would have been due in January of 2022 or February of 2023, I'm sorry. So 12 months apart would have been. Okay. Records show the twins died of natural causes within an hour of being born. Birth records for Faith and Bailey Siders list the same Cheshire, Ohio address as the birth record in September of 2020. Okay, so they went to Wisconsin and came back. In January 2024, Elizabeth gave birth to twins, a boy and a girl, and in an Athens County hospital. Records list the same Cheshire, Ohio address. Why are they going to the different hospitals if they're at the same place? We got Athens County. We've got Columbus. We've got Gallia County. We've got what else do we have? I think that's it. Okay. Why are they? I don't. Okay. 1 year later, in January of 2025, Elizabeth gave birth to twin boys in an Athens County hospital. Okay, same county. Birth records list a new address for the family, this time in Hamden, a community of about 700 in Vinton County. Vinton County schools said they did not have enrollment or homeschooling records related to the Siders' children, but would not have been able to provide information when they did. Okay, so by 2024, March 2008. So May 2008 to 2024. So we've got a 16-year-old in the house, right? Okay, 2026. In May 2026, Gary II allegedly exposed himself on 4 dates to victims not within his household at his home on Omer Street in Hamden. The warrant for the case was issued on June 30th, the same day officers arrested the four Siders adults. Officers said they initially came to the house for a parallel case involving allegations of DA and child neglect, but unrelated to the current case. Oh, so yeah, I was wrong. And I don't know. I have been working on the assumption that they were there for and actually other reporting did say that, it's possible that they were going there because of the exposure charges, but no. So officers said they came to the house for a parallel case involving allegations of domestic A and child neglect, but unrelated to the current case. Okay. Also on June 30th, law enforcement removed 16 children from the same Omer Street home. Wilson said 7 of the children spent the night in the hospital and 2 were flown to trauma centers. 2 flown to trauma centers. As of July 8th, Vinton County Prosecutor William Archer said all of the children are safe and being cared for. On July 7th, Gary Siders, we're going to call him G1, was hospitalized in Athens County after a fall. In the hospital, Archer said medical staff identified a serious medical condition requiring specialized care. Archer said Siders, the elder, was released on a recognizance bond with GPS tracking, so the county did not have to cover hospital costs, and he will be evaluated to see if he is competent enough to stand trial. The other 3 Sider adults remain in jail. And that is, this article was written on the 13th, on today, and I checked the court. No new documents as of about 5 p.m. Eastern today. So that's where we stand. What are we counting? 3 different counties and 2 different cities that the children were born in. At least 3 school districts that did not have records of the children. 1 school district saying we can't provide that information because it's private. But probably, they may have had children in school. But that, to me, that's a possibility as to why they may be under the radar if they indeed are. All right, let me refresh what you guys are saying over here. Let's see. Fire Rabbit says, let's bring up, supposedly Elizabeth G2 and kids had only been there a year, but that's just a rumor. Okay. All right. What does the timeline say though? I think what you're saying does. Cheshire, Ohio. In 2024, they list the Cheshire, and 2025. No. Yeah, so in 2024, it lists Cheshire as their address, but 2025 lists Hamden. So that would, I guess, support the rumor, Fire Rabbit, that they'd only been there for a year. However, there were statements that they possibly had been in that room for 4 years. So who knows what to believe? This is another one of those cases where we're like, I don't know, that we're going to get more information as it comes, right? Great comment. Thanks, Fire Rabbit. Let's see. Serenity Gateway. Gavin, it's locally alleged that the elders lived there alone prior to Junior and Elizabeth running from CPS and moving in 4 years ago. Okay, so different stories in the rumors for sure. Renee Vetter, my mother always said you don't have to be wealthy to be clean. That is 100% true. Yes. I've shared the story before. I'll share it again since I'm wearing my Argentina shirt. One of the people that I love most in this world lived in a house made of dirt. and it was the most spotless place you've ever seen in your life. So, yeah, real poverty, but cleanliness. It was one of those places where I felt like, yeah, I can eat the food here and I won't die, you know? Tina says, children in seatbelts, car seats is one of my major pet peeves. Mine too. Mine too. First to Die says, my parents decided it would be fun to take my 9-month-old for ice cream and drove with him on my mom's lap. They never babysat again. Good for you. Good for you. Mary Shaw, my niece, brother's daughter, is married to a man named Brett Fish from Minnesota. Seeing it's a name not often seen, am curious if any relationship there. No idea. Out here in the East, in the Northeast specifically, Fish is a pretty common name. In the West, where I grew up, not so much. Penguin saying the courts are asking for its mental state at the time of the offense. When was that? What offense exactly? If it's the kids, that's been going on for 16 years. Hey, great comment. Great comment. Yeah. Not just the date of the arrest, right? But the date of the offense, that would be years. Becky says, why a different hospital? Because after conjoined twins, she would be high risk and sent to a hospital with NICU. Yeah, good point. Good point. Probably because they didn't want to report it like doctor shopping. That's another possibility. I think that Becky's, sometimes the most obvious answer is the most likely, right? Maybe it wasn't doctor shopping. Maybe it was needed to be in a place with a NICU. Ohio Palm Mom saying listing false addresses and going to different hospitals is a typical way to avoid authorities. So yeah, maybe they were doing that too. It's possible, for sure. Clarinet Girl, short interpregnancy interval increases odds of baby being born with congenital disorder or birth defect. I would imagine that those odds compound the more children we're talking about. Yes, indeed. And the older that the mom gets, too. Just so much irresponsibility here. But I wonder if it's tied to mental illness. I don't know. But I think what I do know is that I think we've expanded our understanding of the case a little bit today. I still think there are mysteries to unfold and to unpack. But we definitely have learned a lot today. At least I have, and I hope you have along with me. Now, before we wrap up the show, guys, we still have a just quick reminder to those 65% of you that are watching without subscribing. No pressure, no guilt, but you're invited to subscribe. What I do here is I typically do a main case. And then we take a look at some other headlines within true crime. We do a good news segment. But before we do those things, I answer 3 questions sent in by you. So how about we do that right now? Let's dive in.
It's 3 questions with Gavin Fish.
Guys, in this segment, I answer 3 questions that you send in to me to the email address 3questions@gavinfish.com, 3questions@gavinfish.com. Let me tell you something. I had to talk to my AI agent today because some of you have gotten in the habit of not sending in questions, but sending in correspondence. And that is not the purpose of this email address. The purpose is questions. And my AI agent was like, what do you want me to do with these things? You want me to add them to the list? And I said, nay, I want you to just get rid of them. So if you ever want to contact me, you can do that through my website, gavinfish.com. Look at, let me just show you so that you can see it. This is what my website looks like. It has my mug up there at the top. It's got some articles from Crime Cod, my true crime website that we do such good work on Crime Cod. I blame/credit Jake, my editor. So definitely check out the Crime Cod articles. But you see this little envelope right there, that little icon? If you click on that, that will take you to a form that you can send in correspondence to me. The reason I do it this way instead of just having an email address is I had so many people complaining that I wasn't answering their emails and I wasn't seeing them. And so I set up this form so that I know that I always get the correspondence. It saves it in a database on my website, it emails it over to me, and I haven't missed a single one. Now, I don't respond to all of them. In fact, I respond to very few of them, but that's the way to get in touch with me. The 3 questions email address is just for 3 questions. All right? All right. We're following a theme today. We've got a theme, and that theme is music. Dana asks, which song can you not stand to hear one more time? And this is the perfect kind of question for the 3 question segment because you guys can answer the question in the comments and in the live chat. And I want to hear but I have the perfect answer to this one, okay? My brother just older than me, who is a delightful and wonderful man. I love him deeply. But he got into this kick when I was a teenager where on one cassette tape, he recorded back to back to back on side A and side B the song I'm Your Lady by Celine Dion. And he played it and played it. I think the poor guy was just in love. I think he was in love and he needed to feel the feels. And that song brought the feels. And speaking of bringing feels, it brought me a completely different set. So, yes, I have not listened to I'm Your Lady since the early 90s. I wonder what year that song came out. Let's look it up. Celine Dion, I'm Your Lady, year released November 8th, 1993. 1993 was a very good year, but ooh, boy, I have not listened to it since. I do not want to hear it. I can hear that belting voice, which I respect. I respect. I'm not really a belting female vocal fan anyway. I can appreciate the art form, but I just don't. It's just doesn't speak to me. But oh, so I don't listen to a lot of Celine Dion anyway. It, it, I the Whitney Houston stuff that everybody loves. The what is the Dolly Parton song, right? From The Bodyguard. Um, I Will Always Love You. That one has a little too much belt in it for me, so I hardly ever listen to that. But the Whitney Houston, the early stuff, the pop stuff that's not all belty, the Mariah Carey can't listen to. Too much belty. Idina Menzel can't listen to her. Love her. Think she's talented. Cannot. I do not. Yeah, it's just not me. Okay, but this song, I'm Your Lady by Celine Dion, is the worst. Not not that it's a bad song. It's just for me, it is the worst. My brother ruined it. It is his fault. Madame Dion, who I respect and love, I can't. Okay, question number 2. Guys, tell me your answer to the question in the comments. What song instantly puts you in a good mood? Oh, I didn't. Okay. My favorite song, the song that never gets old, is Georgia Satellites. I got a little change in my pocket going jing-a-ling-a-ling. I love that song. I love that song. But I've got so many. I've just got so many. Rocky Raccoon from the Beatles is one that puts me in a good mood. I like old music. Your Body's a Wonderland is one that I really like. You know what I watched the other night when I couldn't sleep? I watched Phenomenon, the movie with Kira Sedgwick and John Travolta and Robert Duvall. It's so good. Forrest Whitaker, it's so good. That has an Eric Clapton song, If I Could Change the World. Great song. That puts me in a happy mood. Diamonds on the Soles of Her Shoes, Paul Simon. In fact, that entire album, Graceland, is amazing. I've got a list of probably 400 songs that are just immediate happy songs for me. I'd love to hear your comments on that. And the last question in our theme of music, what's one album you can listen to all the way through? Oh, I've got a million of these. Okay, a million of these. The I Ching when it comes to the world's greatest album. bar none, hands down, is Rumors by Fleetwood Mac. That is the perfect album. The only thing that could have been better about that album is including Silver, what's it called? They didn't include it on the album. Silver Spring. They included it on the extended version later. That would have made it even more perfect. But, they don't have much room on the vinyl. Anyway, that is the world's perfect album. Okay? Runners up for the best album I can listen to all the way through. The Wall by Floyd. Led Zeppelin 4 all the way through. Definitely. Abbey Road, Sgt. Pepper's, White, Revolver. All of those I can listen to all the way through, especially Abbey Road. I think that's the top of the list for me. The soundtrack to Somewhere in Time. The soundtrack to this one's my guilty pleasure, but the soundtrack to Xanadu. I love it. I can listen to the entire album. I love it. I love ELO. The soundtrack to Man from Snowy River. The soundtrack to what is the it's called Unchained Heart. The soundtrack to Unchained Hearts, a Marissa Tomei movie from the late 80s or early 90s. Bon Jovi, Slippery When Wet. Van Halen for Unlawful Carnal Knowledge. There are so many. Hearts, Dreamboat Annie. Like, there are just so many albums that you can just listen to all the way through, and they are top notch for me. I'd love to hear what your comments are on that. What are the questions again? What song can you not stand to hear one more time? What song instantly puts you in a good mood? And what's one album you can listen to all the way through? And while you guys are answering those questions, how about we get into some headlines? Here we go.
True crime headlines.
Guys, I've just got one article that I want to share with you today. This from CBS 12 in the Lynette Hooker case. Mother says daughter planned to leave husband before Bahama's disappearance. I think this might be the first time we're hearing this. I know that we've heard that there were problems and so forth, but I think this is the first time we're hearing this. This was from Friday, came out after our headlines with Elizabeth, written by Grace Bellinghausen for CBS 12. The dateline is Hopetown, Bahamas. New details are casting doubt on a husband's account after a Michigan woman vanished while sailing in the Bahamas, according to her family. Investigators have told family members of missing sailor Lynette Hooker that Hooker made it back onto the couple's sailboat before she disappeared, contradicting the version of events her husband Brian Hooker has publicly shared, per CBS News Miami. And we don't know that that's true. It's just that's what's been reported. Brian Hooker maintained that in April, the couple was returning to their sailboat, which was anchored off Hopetown in the Bahamas when Lynette bounced from the dinghy and disappeared. However, let me bring up a picture of Lynette, by the way. However, CBS News Miami reports investigators are now examining whether a physical altercation may have occurred aboard the sailboat before Lynette vanished. The Coast Guard, FBI, and Bahamian authorities have continued investigating the case for months. The couple's sailboat was seized in May and transported for forensic analysis. Investigators have been examining evidence collected from the vessel at an FBI facility in Quantico, Virginia. Former Palm Beach County State Attorney Dave Ehrenberg told CBS News Miami the investigation suggests authorities may have uncovered evidence they are not yet ready to disclose. Quote, investigators in my mind clearly have evidence that they're not giving yet to the public, Ehrenberg said. The prosecutors will wait until they get every scrap of data analyzed to ensure they have an airtight case, close quote. Brian Hooker has not been charged with a crime and has denied any wrongdoing. Lynette Hooker's mother, Darlene Hamlet, talk about burying the lead, previously told CBS News Miami she never believed her son-in-law's explanation and said her daughter had planned to leave him. Quote, she says, I can't take it anymore, Mom. Get on a plane and come home, Hamlet said. She bought a ticket, but she never came. Could that have been I mean, leaving an abuser is the most dangerous moment. Could it be that she had a ticket to leave and told him, and that is the moment an altercation occurred? This is just me talking through what's been reported here. That's when an altercation took place on the sailboat. Soulmate and Lynette Hooker was killed, possibly. The U.S. Coast Guard declined comment on the latest developments because of the ongoing investigation. Now, we have some good news. This one makes me happy. It makes me happy for so many reasons. Wanda, how about some yacht rocky good news theme music? Can you do that for us?
Silent on a soft sunrise, good news shining in your eyes, warm breeze blowing smooth and slow, sweet tomorrow's finally home.
That last line, Wanda, I just don't get it. I don't get that last line, but it's a good theme song, and I appreciate you for performing it for us. That was really, really good. And your nephew in there is singing just so well. All right, guys, from the Good News Network, written by Andy Corbley, young man interviews 3,000 World War II vets over a 10-year project. Look how they use the hyphen and the en dash on this one. So it's very well done. Preserving their stories. Okay. This, by the way, I saw the On the Road report from Steve Hartman from CBS News on this, and it was delightful. But let me just read the article from the Good News Network written by Andy Corbley. A decade ago, a young American began recording interviews with World War II combat veterans to satisfy his curiosity about the war. That curiosity became something of an obsession, and 3,000 veterans later, his hard drives and SD cards have become something of a national treasure. Brought to us from Steve Hartman for CBS News' On the Road, 28-year-old Rishi Sharma says it's been a privilege to meet the moral compass behind our society. Quote, I've spent every single day of the last 10 years doing that, said Sharma, having recently finished speaking with a 100-year-old survivor of Iwo Jima. Sharma was first interviewed by Hartman in 2016 when the fresh-faced post-high schooler was mostly driving around his Southern California region for his curiosity. At that time, the young man was planning a multi-year trip around the country with the aim of saving as many stories from veterans as could be saved before the curtain came down on the greatest generation. Hartman shared that back when he first met Sharma, there were some 700,000 World War II vets still among us. Today, that number stands at 30,000. Quote, just the advice they impart silently steers the ship of the country, Sharma said. Good on this young man for continuing his work. And yeah, I mean, most of these guys now are centenarians or close to it. My grandfather, who landed on Omaha Beach in Normandy, who was part of the Battle of the Bulge, lied about his age. He was too young, but he lied about his age to enlist and went over to fight the Nazis, and he died 2012. So we're lucky to have these folks that are still with us, and good on this young man for doing that. History, I just love history. I love history, and I love the people who keep it for us. So good on Rishi Sharma. Thank you for doing that, and I hope that he continues his project as long as he possibly can. And those guys are your headlines.
True crime headlines.
Okay, a couple of comments. Let's see what you guys are saying about the questions of the day. Let me scroll on down. Oh, Mooney is for question 1. I will always love you. You don't want that anymore. I especially don't like it when like people will share on social media, hey, listen to these 3 sopranos sing I will always love you. Like, no, I'd rather be shot. I love listening to Dolly sing it and the occasional version of Whitney singing it. But yeah, anything by Taylor Swift, Taste by Sabrina Carpenter, Anything with long guitar riffs. That's funny. That's funny. Anything by Styx. Yeah, I'm not a fan. I can't remember the name of the lead singer of Styx, but his diphthong usage is weird, right? So I'm sailing away. It's weird how he does it. I'm just not a fan. I'm the same thing with REO Speedwagon with his R's, right? When I told you I'd love you, I meant that I love you forever. Yeah, that kind of stuff bothers me. Kind of bothers me. Uh, I had a tape of the Macarena like that. Oh dear. Oh dear. Um, wasn't Can You Feel the Love one from a movie? Can you feel? Yeah, Lion King. How are you going to hate on Renegade? That's funny. That's funny. Let me just keep on going real quick and try to get as many as you can. Robin says, my husband is definitely traumatized by his brother playing Styx and the Who. I can see him cringe immediately if a song by those groups' music comes on. I love Tommy, though. I'm not a huge Who fan. I think they're a little bit too jam bandish for me. And the same thing with like the Dead. I'm just not into jam bands. But Tommy, I can listen to that album all day long. You're Having My Baby by Paul Anka. That's going back. That's going back. Let's see. Sunshine saying, instead of really, really, maybe immensely. Very good. Anything by Brian Adams. That's funny. Graceland is a beautiful album. Robin says, I had horrible morning sickness with my baby daughter. I cannot listen to Sadly or Santana. I just feel ill typing this. My brain is so weird. Gavin, I love Phil Collins and Anita Baker. What song was that? Phil Collins and Anita Baker. They did that together. Hold on. Which song was that? Phil Collins. Oh, One More Night. Is that the one? Or I don't know. I'm not sure which one it is. Not sure. Trial Watcher. I totally agree. Love Fleetwood Mac. Yes, indeed. Mooney saying Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon or The Wall. Yeah, those are both great albums. David Bowie Changes. Jason Mraz, I'm Yours. Saturday. This is one of those that I think translated automatically. I think you said Sabaton. Best album, Legend, Bad Company. Oh, Saturday Night Fever does have an amazing soundtrack. Any Counting Crows album, there's one bad song and it's Butterfly in Reverse. I never totally got into Counting Crows, but I remember Long December when I came home from Argentina and I was just heartbroken over a girl. Long December was the song that I would go to feel sad because I wanted to feel sad. And it's still a great song. I still listen to it, not for the same reason, but it still evokes those same emotions. And sometimes you just want to feel sad, and I like sad songs. Ohio Pom Mom, I saw Xanadu in French while visiting Quebec with my high school class. Nice. Nice. And then as you did the timeline, I counted 5 boys. Is that correct? I'll have to go back and look. I'm not sure. Not sure. 5 boys and 11 girls. Is that what it is? Louise saying, at times privacy laws such as HIPAA are so strident they are ridiculous. I think of all the HIPAA forms you have signed, nurse who actually knew how to maintain privacy without a government mandate. Yeah. Yeah, I remember having to implement HIPAA on the technology side. It was such a pain, such a pain. Guys, thanks so much for spending some time. Tonight's was a little long, but I'm glad that you spent some time with me. Remember that you're always welcome to join me on Facebook over in the fish tank. If you go to my website, gavinfish.com, and you click on the little fishy icon there, that will take you to the tank where we hang out and talk about true crime. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. If you're not subscribed, I mean, what are you even doing? No, Gavin, take that back. Javi, edit that out in post. Javi, you need to edit that out in post. That was harsh. I'm just saying, 65% of you that watch my videos aren't subscribed. What can I do better? Help me do better. Help me help you. Help me help you. Did I deliver that line? Okay. Did I deliver it okay? Probably not. Okay. With that, guys, thank you so much for being here. Deeply appreciate my mods as always. Thank you for being here, guys. And I bid you adieu until the next one. See you tomorrow. Take care.